It's me again, Brandy, and today we're going to go ahead and make my chocolate crinkle cookies. It's been a recipe that's passed down from, I think, my great-grandma, my grandma, and then my mom, and now me. And I make it almost every year for Christmas. This year I'm actually doing two batches. I'm doing a double batch now, and then later I'm going to be doing another potential double batch. If not, it's going to be just one, because they make a lot of cookies, especially if you do it the way I do it. Anyway, we're going to get going, and I'll show you how it works. Alright, so as always, we always want to have a clean work surface. I'm actually in my kitchen for once instead of my living room. And yes, I have my laptop again. That has my recipe on it. I find it a little easier to have a laptop instead of a book. It makes you more conscious of not getting things dirty or messy. And then you don't have to worry about the pages getting wet. Anyway, we're going to start off with, we have eggs, olive oil, vanilla, baking powder, salt, unsweetened chocolate, flour, and sugar. It sounds like a very simple, basic recipe, but this isn't all of it. The one other ingredient is powdered sugar, and that's going to be later, after our dough for our cookies are chilled. This is a chilled dough cookie, and I prefer doing it overnight as opposed to maybe just 4 hours. So here we're going to get all these ingredients, and then here's some of the hardware that it's going to go into. I always suggest using a stand mixer, because if you don't, you'll need some strong arms to mix all of the flour, because that is the very last thing that goes in, and it gets really tough if you don't. So there's the one. I have a bowl, because we're going to melt the chocolate first. And then I have a teaspoon and a half a teaspoon, a cup, and then a larger cup or measuring cup that has 2 cups on it. Okay, so we're going to get some of this going. First thing is melting the chocolate. Okay, so here we have the Baker's Unsweetened chocolate. They used to come in little 1-ounce squares, and now they don't, so it can get kind of expensive. That's why I only do it usually once a year. If you look on here, if you're able to, it'll say like a 1/4 ounce, and that is usually one section of this. So these equal up to 4 ounces. I'm going to use 8, so that's why I have 2 bars. But you don't do all of it at once. You don't melt all of it all at once. You want to do a little bit at a time. So you're going to have to break these off. I kind of don't like the fact that they made them bars now, because it makes things a little bit harder to do. When they did it where it was just the squares, they ended up having 8 squares in there, so you could actually do a whole double batch with 1 box. And now I have to use 2 boxes because they only come in 4 ounces a bar. That's kind of silly. But that's what I do. Labor of love for once a year. Maybe twice this year. Here's this, and then it's going to go in the microwave. You're going to heat it about a minute to see how far it is. You're going to check it every once in a while. So long as it starts melting, it's usable, it's workable, we can mess with it. So here it goes in the microwave. Alright, so here's the first bar melted. For my microwave, and I use the microwave because it's a little easier and faster for me, it ended up being about 2.5 minutes for 1 bar to melt, so I guess maybe 5 minutes for both bars. But since I'm using a small container or a small bowl, I like to do it a little bit at a time. And it's going to be really hot when you try to take it out, so you can use a glove or a mitt. And this is going to go in the pan, or in the bowl, mixing bowl. And then I also have here 1 cup of olive oil. So I have 1 cup of olive oil. This is going to go in with the chocolate, and then I'll melt the other bar and put that in as well. This is the difficult part because you don't want to get anything chocolatey. Oh, and also just to let you know, when they mean unsweetened chocolate, they mean unsweetened chocolate. Do not try to eat this or steal a little bite. You will find very quickly that it is nasty. That's why we put sugar in it to make it taste good. So there's that one. And now we're going to put the olive oil in. That's not a bit decisive spell, but that's okay. Alright, and then I'll get the other bar in and we'll go from there. Look at that. Isn't that yummy in there? We're going to make it yummy. I got 2 cups of sugar right here. I'm going to dump this in and then get another 2 cups.
Okay.
Now I also want to let you know, because we are dealing with unsweetened baker's chocolate, you do not want to let any animals eat any shavings that may drop on the floor when you break apart the chocolate. You do, it's very bad and dangerous to your pets. Just to let you know that. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing this so you can see what it kind of starts looking like. This is going to be sort of loud, but that's what mixers do. So this part may not be that loud, but and it seems like we're putting in a lot of sugar, but remember, this is unsweetened chocolate. So if you use a sweet or a semi-sweet chocolate, you wouldn't have to put as much sugar in there. But I don't know how to do that. I only know the way my recipe looks. So this is kind of what it's starting to look like. I'll have to put more sugar in. And when I do, then it'll look a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to now put our eggs into this weird looking substance. Doesn't look that appetizing, does it? It will though. It will. Once everything gets all together, it'll look like dough. But first we're going to put the eggs in. I need 8 eggs for my batch, or double batch. And it's always a good idea to put it in a bowl in case you have eggshell that likes to be wayward and go inside of it. And you don't want crunchy cookies unless they're overbaked. This is not one of those cookies. Or I've never come across it, but I've heard you might get some blood in the egg. Well, if you just dump it right in there, well, that's going to go in the cookie or in whatever it is you're baking, and you don't want that. You just want the actual egg itself, nothing extra. So we're going to go ahead and just crack 1 egg into the bowl at a time, and then put it in there if it looks okay. And these eggs are really, really good. The shells make it a little more difficult to try to crack. So in other words, it holds its shape better and you don't get those little wayward pieces of eggshell. This one looks good. So we're just going to plop it right on in there. Now the directions usually say to do 1 egg at a time to incorporate it into the mixture. I do a few at a time and then mix it and then do a few more. Okay, so now we're going to put 4 teaspoons of vanilla into this. It calls for 2, but again, double batch. So we're going to do 1. Oh, okay, we're going to count that as either 2.5 or 3. A little extra is okay. Don't just go overboard though. I'm going to count that as 4 because it did a little extra fall in there. And then we need 1 teaspoon of salt. And since this is wet, I'm going to use the ½ teaspoon to do my salt. Now I know I haven't said it this video, But every single time you're done with something, put it away. Put it away, you have less of a mess to worry about later. Alright, so there's one. And two. Then we're going to mix that up. So we got all our eggs in there. We got the vanilla and the salt. And I believe it's the baking powder. Baking powder is going to be next. It's going to be 2 teaspoons. And then we're going to also have our flour, which is 4 cups of flour. Alright, so here's the baking powder. I need 4 teaspoons of this. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to mix that up until that's all incorporated, which won't take too long. Then we'll get the flour in. Okay, so here I have 2 cups of flour. We're gonna put some of it in at a time and then mix it up, because if you try doing it all at once, flour's just gonna go poof. We don't want that. It'll go over everything. The key is trying to be neat. That's not easy. I guess you would say maybe that's about a cup that I put in there. Maybe. It's starting to really look like dough, so that's good. See how it goes everywhere if you go too fast? Alright, so here you have it. The dough is completely done. Now we just have to let it chill. And then tomorrow we'll bake the cookies. And we'll show you how to do that. So until then, happy baking everybody. And we'll see you next time.